Bedrosian throws to Sandberg, and the pitch is grounded to second base. Thompson has it, throws to first. It's over. 27 years of waiting have come to an end. The Giants have won the pennant.
All right, Brad, we are back. For the people who are watching that on video, we had this intro that I had put together in like iMovie. Like there's no animation in it. It was just like a zoom in on a photo.
That's cool though.
That has stayed with us for quite a long time. But I'm hoping now, crossing my fingers, next week for our video show, we should have a new intro video. It's going to be pretty snazzy. And I think it'll be good. If you listen to the Death Lineup with me and Hot Take Bry, we have a video for the Warrior show, and so it's a different idea. It's a little bit, there's a little bit more to it based on this baseball show, but you get the idea. Zach Hernandez, who hosts the Red and Gold Standard show, we put the audio version of their video show in our BSPN podcast feed. So he's the one who's doing it, and I think it looks pretty cool. So hopefully next week we'll get it up here and people will be able to see it. All right.
Nice.
Last week you predicted, I think it was 5-1.
No, I predicted 4-2.
Oh, did you?
No.
Oh. Well, I mean,
I predicted 5-1.
I mean, it should have been 5-1.
It should have been 6-0, honestly. I mean, when it really comes down to it, if it wasn't for the bullpen, it would be a 6-0 week. It would have been back-to-back sweeps. That's how close this team is to not falling off the face of the earth and possibly taking a wild card spot.
Yeah, and it's almost like the way that they played this past week, where they got 4 out of 6 wins. And I know my video is a little choppy, but it'll figure itself out. They could have also gone the other way, because there was yesterday's game where they desperately wanted to lose that game. They were trying to lose that game, and thankfully Tyro was like, I got you guys, we're not losing.
Yeah.
And there were other moments. There was the first game in San Diego, which they did win, thanks to some really, really great pitching, because it felt like they had, I don't know, runners in scoring positions like 8 times with less than 2 outs, and like nobody scored. It was something weird like that. Yeah. So it was really like what this season has been like. That week, last week, really showed through, with the exception of we got a couple breaks and we got a couple guys who got hot, Lamont Wade being one of them. And with the exception of the Junis start, the starting pitching was rock solid. And like you said, the bullpen has been iffy all season long, and it did let us down a bit. And if we do have a better bullpen, maybe we win one more game and we do go 5-1 in the week. But it's going to be something that I think when we look at the end of the season, whether or not they stay competitive, they finally moved back to 500. They were 2 games under 500 when we went into last week. You know what's so funny? I was trying to remember, because we love looking at the plus minus, the runs scored versus runs against. Do you know the Giants are still in the net positive by 20 runs, or no, 19 runs? I think they were 20 runs last week, and then they go 4-2, and then they lose a run. It was probably because of that San Diego game, that third game, right, where it was like 13-6 or something.
Yeah, and a big part of that too, obviously, that helps you is the huge first half of the season. They were dominating teams and had a really nice run differential going into. God, I can't even think of how far back it's been since
it was. It was the last time they were in Pittsburgh,
right?
You remember Tyler Rogers gave up the jack to lose that game in Pittsburgh, and it was like that day the wheels just fell off.
Yeah, you can actually point to a day, which is sad, because you can look back and you can see a day, and it was a bullpen. It was a bullpen that a bullpen pitcher that blew it, unfortunately. And that's the theme we've had ever since.
You know why I remember that day so well?
Yeah.
So we live in an area that you're pretty familiar with. We live in Sunnyvale. We were in the Bay Area, and we moved here during the pandemic. So everyone remembers what it was like in the pandemic when you couldn't even go anywhere. There was nothing open. And finally, slowly but surely, things started opening up. And Sunnyvale has a really nice little downtown. It's a very small area, but it's a really nice little downtown area, Murphy Avenue, where there's all kinds of like little restaurants and wine bars and such. And my wife and I have not gone enough. It's just a great spot, but we haven't gone enough. We haven't, eaten out and hung out and stuff, but we're slowly but surely starting to utilize this great downtown. And I remember that because we were on like a day date and we were sitting in the bar, we were eating lunch, and then I saw Tyler Rogers give up that home run, and I remember laughing, going like, wow, they really should have won this game, but they're, this stuff kind of happens. And I little did I know this would kind of be the beginning of what became a really, really, really bad part of the season and could still be going on. But I mean, they may have turned it around a little bit, at least. If they play 500 baseball for the rest of the year and finish 500, and they won't be in the wild card, but I think I'll be okay with that. If they play a little bit better than 500, maybe they do get in the mix a little bit near the end. But if they fall off even further, then I think we would all think that it was a really disappointing season. So we'll see what happens. But I just remember that moment going like, oh, well, that happens sometimes. And then, my gosh.
Yeah. And you kind of have to feel that way on games like that, too, because that guy had 3 home runs. 3 home runs that game.
Yeah.
And
so
who
was it? It was Jack. I forget his last name.
God. I'd have to go back and look. But I am actually kind of curious because I don't remember watching the game, so I'm pretty sure I was listening to the game.
It's like a Sunday morning game.
Sunday, June 19th. So
almost 2 months ago.
So I was definitely home, and I remember for some reason I was listening to it. So I might have been out in the yard with the headphones on doing something, and I remember that the third home run, and I go, this is unbelievable. That's one of those things that's not going to happen very often. You're not going to see it happen. The bullpen, this is a strong bullpen. We're not going to blow that many games the rest of the season. Is kind of a fluke. Little did we know at the time.
Yeah, totally. So, it would be nice if you kind of have that little bookend where this series against Pittsburgh, when they come to town, it could be a little bit of a jumping off point. And Logan Webb, I don't know how much he really believes it, but he feels like that win on Saturday where I think he went 8, right?
Yeah, he did. He went 8 innings. Everybody was calling for him to come out in the 9th, but Kapler's got some faith in Doval right now, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
He's got the new pitch. Now. So yeah, he's dirty.
Well, he had to get out of the 8th, which he walked 2 hitters in the 8th after having not walked anybody. And he did get out of it. So great for him. I love it. I love seeing him go deep into games because he's got that guile, right? Like he's got, you look at him, he's like, he doesn't throw 95. So it's change-ups and sinkers and knowing how to pitch, as Kruko would say. And he's a little bit of a bulldog there. So I love seeing him go deep because how badly he wants it. And Kapler let him finish that 8th inning. Like he was like, nope, you deserve to finish this thing. Let's get through the 8th. But Logan Webb thinks that something was a little different in the air. The 2012 team was celebrated before that game, so he was a little bit pumped because he got to see those guys. And obviously he kind of looks like Matt Cain's like little brother to an extent. Like they got similarities, the way that they look. So I could see that. He's like, oh man, Matt Cain threw a perfect game in 2012. I'm going to come out here, and he pitched really well.
Yeah, it's been great to watch the starting pitching for sure. I think there's too many times we get into the bullpen in the 5th and 6th inning and we kind of brace for what's going to happen. And we'll do some hardcore bullpen talk later, but I do love watching Webb pitch. He has a lot of fun whenever he takes him on. It's usually a little shaky in the first inning. He kind of takes a little bit to get the footing going, but once he does, he's really nasty. Once the changeup is working and everything else. So definitely, I mean, and the play he made the other night where he came off the mound and grabbed the ball.
Oh my God.
And I can't remember who was at first. Was it Wade? I think Wade might've been at first. And Wade broke way too far his right to get the ball. Webb picked it up and dove and tumbled and tagged the bag before the runner got there. And we love to see it, you know, as former ball players. I mean, that's what you're out there to do. But as a Giants fan, and you've got this great starting pitching, and that's kind of all you have right now. You get scared when you see something like that because you're like, oh my God, please stay on your feet. Don't go to the ground. Don't tumble on your shoulder. Don't do anything bad because he's a big boy. And when he lands, that's a little frightening.
Yeah. There was a moment earlier in the season, and this is when things were going bad, where he's got to cover first base on a double play. And the throw, I think it was Crawford, the throw just was on the inside. So he's running toward the bag, and he's almost kind of got to stop his momentum and stretch back the other way. And he kind of ends up almost in a splits and on his butt. And you just saw it in his face, just like, come on, like that. This is not how it's supposed to work. But then, like you said, and Kruko was like, this is what separates this guy. He's actually a good athlete. And, you know, we've seen the football clips of him playing quarterback and such. So Kruko's like, yeah, this guy's a good athlete. This is what separates him from some of the other guys, is he just has a willingness to be out there and get dirty. So that was pretty cool. But we're kind of bearing the lead here because there was a moment Sunday night, like I said, or Sunday afternoon, where Thairo Estrada saved us after Evan Longoria thought it was 2006 all over again, and he goes barehand to make a play.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was either Saturday or Sunday where he has to score on first from a double.
Yeah.
And I in my head, it's Chris Berman going, he's rumbling, he's stumbling. I'm just like, is this guy gonna get to the plate? And then at the end, he doesn't have to slide. He can score standing up, but then he dives head first across home plate. Yes. And Brandon Belt had a similar having to score from first on a double that took him forever. It's actually an error. Brian Reynolds dropped the ball instead of field.
Right. Yeah.
It took him forever. And I was just like, man, these guys. And Brandon Crawford's got to score. And he's running hard, but it's still taking him forever. And I was like, man, these guys can't run for nothing.
No.
But so Longoria, you know, he's got to score like that, and then he's got to try and make this play. And he throws it away, just no chance, and they get a run. And so Thairo picks him up. And you know, it's one of those moments, the swing. It's Tyro's swing, like when he's right-handed hitter, and he doesn't have the swing where it's like that majestic cape, like Will Clark used to call it the cape when he would swing. Ken Griffey Jr. similar. But Thairo hits it and he just spins off of his foot, and it was just like the most like violent swing that you would ever see from him. And I was like, man, he knew that ball was gone. And it was like it was not like a bat flip or anything. It was just like this is a violent swing, and I loved his follow through on it. It was great, and that ball goes out, and the team celebrates him all around the bases. It felt like a really good moment in a season that is missing those moments, right? Like there was one, the Yastrzemski one, where he hit the grand slam off a hater. Like that was one, and we thought maybe that's going to turn it around. And it didn't really, but this is another one. And so hopefully they can pick up some momentum off something like this.
Well, and this is a healthy team too. So when you see it, when you have a series like that, I was telling people all day today, I was like, you know what? Us Giants fans, frustrating year compared to last year. You could always look and say, we're not the Pirates. So that's good, right? At least we're not the Pirates. Because when you look at that game, I mean, yeah, they kept kind of giving it back and giving it back, and you got all these young guys out there, and throws coming in the catcher and bouncing off the catcher's face. But yeah, so I mean, Estrada's swing when he hit that ball too, I think Kipe kind of threw me off with his call because he said high drive, and then he paused, and I was like, oh no, that means it's going to be caught at the warning track. This is not good. And then both outfilders had kind of weird routes to the ball.
I mean, the Pirates have to be the only defense that's worse than the Giants. Oh my god!
Yeah, and that's what I thought too. I go, well, they took weird routes to the ball, so if it's at the fence, maybe it'll drop in and something will happen. But it took a couple of seconds, and then you see the first and second row of fans starting to look over their head, and I was like, all right, here we go. And I had raw chicken on my hands because I was cooking a whole chicken last night. So I'm in the living room going like this. I'm dancing around, hands up in the air with raw chicken. I can't touch anything. I can't clap. I'm just going, yeah. So yeah, that's fun. I mean, as a Giants fan too, you get all this grumpiness from Giants fans right now, and we're this team and that. Enjoy the moments, man, because that's what baseball is all about, and that's what this weekend was all about. A 3-game sweep. Enjoy that. I don't care if it was against the Pirates or the Texas All-Star Little League team. I don't care who it's against. It's a sweep, so just take it.
Yeah, and you never know what happens. The San Diego, we'll talk about this sort of near the end, maybe even the last thing we talk about with Fernando Tatis being suspended. Right. They should, I think Kapler said, he's like, look, they have a good enough team without him. So that shouldn't really affect them. But you never know. Baseball, it can be an emotional and mental game as well. And I don't know, saw some quotes from like Mike Clevenger, and I was like, dude, you're someone who's disappointed in another player. What are you doing?
Yeah, that was some good stuff. When I saw that quote, he said, he needs to grow up and this and that. And I was like, wow, all right.
Yeah. So just so people, if they don't remember, Clevenger was like one of the first athletes to break COVID protocol with the Indians. And I'm almost sure that was part of the reason he got traded, because they were just like,
I believe so.
We can't deal with this guy.
I think he had done some other things too in the past, and they were like, you know what? We're good, Clev. We'll see you later. So
yeah. So enjoy that moment. I hope fans did, because it was great. It was something that I think, they don't do this anymore, where when we were kids, they would do like the end of the season show where it was like the recap of the season. And like, if they did a show like that, maybe NBC Sports Bay Area will do something like that. But this will be one of those moments that they have on that year-end shows. It was excellent. And Tyro may not be the second baseman of the future for this team, but he is a pretty darn good baseball player. So that was fun to see him be able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. He's been such a kind of a backbone of this team. I think somebody had mentioned him on Twitter yesterday as being a possible Willie Mack Award winner nominee, which I could totally see, because, I mean, he had the COVID stretch there where he missed a week and a half or something like that, 10 games or so. Other than that, he's pretty much been in there and done what he's asked to have done. And so it's fun. I love watching him. He's one of my favorites on the team now. He kind of was going into the season too, because I thought, well, we're going to see him at about 150 games.
Yeah.
I think he was in one of our predictions too. We had preseason prediction.
Oh man, we're going to have to go back to those.
I know. I pulled him up today. I'm not going to spoil anything. But
that'll be our year-end show.
Yeah, one of them we're not even close. So we had a number, and we'll have to figure this out because we're going to need an official ruling on this. But we had an over-under of a number of specific home runs between Jock Peterson and Darren Ruff combined. So do we count the Mets home runs that Darren Ruff is going to hit? How's
Darren Ruff doing in New York, by the way? Because the Mets he's killing it.
Oh yeah, he's doing great against lefties. I mean, and that's kind of what it's him and Vogelbach are just pretty much. Vogelbach's a left-handed hitter, so they've got the two guys just platooning off and on. And Jock Peterson hasn't hit a home run since June 24th 5th or something like that. So
Yeah, he hit a couple of good baseballs last week. I know he's still hitting the ball really hard, but he's just not getting it elevated enough for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, and we need that. We obviously need that to happen. Again, the team's healthy, so there's guys right now that can kind of pick them up. And got a couple of big series lined up for this week. They're not against big teams, so that's why they're big series, because they have to do to those teams what they did to the Pirates. So
yeah, Ruff's hitting 333, 6 hits and 18 ABs, with 3 of those hits being doubles and 5 RBI. So pretty good. And
yeah, he hit one off the middle of the wall in right field, opposite field, the other night, and I thought, oh, he's got his first New York jack, but hit right off the middle of the fence.
Good for him, man. Good.
Yeah.
You know, you root for those guys, and they go to a good spot like New York, and man, DeGrom and Scherzer, like Mets fans are having the time of their life, and I'm not that I care. You know, I don't care about the Mets. You know, though the '86 Mets were a really big team of our childhood. That was a very memorable team. But you know, I have friends who are Mets fans, and they're so fired up. I'm just like, it's awesome. It's so fun when your baseball team is awesome.
Well, and if the Mets and the Dodgers happen to play in the NLCS, then we'll be big Mets fans. So
I might even buy a hat, man. We might have to wear a hat for this podcast if that happens.
Just go get yourself a Darryl Strawberry jersey. And, I'll get a Dwight Gooden one, and we'll be good to go.
Or maybe I get like an old New York Giants hat or something. That'd be good.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. That'd be
all right, let's do Player of the Week.
All right, so our Player of the Week this week, I got it up a little bit late today, but that's all right. We, we have work and we have kids. Today was back to school day for my kids. So,
by the way,
are
you excited for first day of school? Like, that's one of my favorite days of the year. Like, after a whole summer of the kids just being home and lounging and watching TV and just, I'm so bored. What am I supposed to do? First day of school, they're out of the house. It's peace and quiet again. I can work. That's one of my favorite days.
I think tomorrow. So today was good, but my wife was at work, so I'm the drop-off guy in the morning.
Okay.
And then the older one's going to be driving in about 6 weeks. She'll get her license.
It's awesome.
So she'll hopefully be able to take the younger one to school and then take herself to school. So the mornings are always a little hectic. Alarm hits at 5:30. I think tomorrow is going to be a little bit better because Denise is home and she could take the kids to school in the morning. Then I do the pickups. But it was nice. From the time I got home about 7:45 until about 2 something, it was just me.
Yeah.
So there was lots of Motley Crue. There was lots of Van Halen while I was working, and it was very nice. So I do enjoy it. It is a quiet house, and the summers are a little crazy around here because the older one is go, go, go.
Yeah.
So it's, get up in the morning, walks in holding the phone. We're going to go do this, and that today. I'm like, okay, how are you getting to all these places? So the summers are a little hectic. So yes, today was a very nice kind of a freedom day for me, and I enjoyed it. Yeah.
But like, I think my wife, when I explained this to her, how first day of school is like one of my favorite days of the year, I think she felt a little like, because they're my stepkids. And I was like, no, don't worry. For my own kids, it was one of the best days of the year. Like, you didn't know me when my kids were this age, but I was so excited first day of school. So same thing. This is not just because, I have to go through this all over again.
It's a nice day. It really is a nice day. The older one came home. She was home for about a half hour and she's gone again. So we're kind of back to the summer night thing where it's like gone again. So
wait, this is her junior year?
Junior year, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, first football game of the year is coming up this Friday, so those plans have already been made as well.
There you go.
Yeah, she goes, "You want to come to the game and watch him?" No, really don't. I saw one game last year. I'm good.
Oh man, great! Great. You get to go through the high school thing, and then college is right around the corner. Exciting times.
Getting ready for it.
Let's get back to the Player of the Week.
Player of the Week tied for second place. We had Tyro Estrada. He did not win this week. Tyro Estrada hit 348, 360 WOBA, 7.7% K rate. I think that was in about 23 ABs. So that was strong. 1 home run, 4 ribs, and the Sunday walk-off home run was not good enough to get him the Player of the Week award. Tied for second place, Camilo Duvall.
I know this was your guy. This was the guy you thought was going to get it this week.
And I voted for him because last week I said if he can get a 3-save week, we could see Duvall getting Player of the Week award. He got a 3-save week. 4 games, 4 innings pitched, only 2 hits, 4 strikeouts. But not enough because late season Lamont Wade Jr. hitting 308, 582 WOBA this week with 3 bombs, 5 ribs, 2 sac flies, and a stolen base. That's enough right there to get you the award, Player of the Week. There he is, Lamont Wade Jr. His family was in town. Last year when his family was in town, he went off also. So I think the third base coach joked with him when he got back to the dugout after his home run the other day and said, I think we're going to have to lease a place here for your parents to permanently stay. And he said, yeah, my mom would love that. So
the one thing I will say about Duvall, so it was right after we recorded the first game against the Padres. And I don't even remember who was up, but he threw 103 mile per hour cutter, sinker, something. I don't think it was a straight fastball. Like that thing exploded out of his hands. And like when he threw it, he knew that there was greatness in that pitch because he's so fired up when he throws this pitch.
Oh, yeah.
And it's strike 3, game over. Giants win 1-0. They take the first game. And wow, that was like one of those, who is this guy? Like, how can he just dial up 103 at just whatever he did, just let's bottle that and let's just keep it. Cause man, if he could do that, cause we've been talking about this. I wanted the Giants. I didn't know how the money would work or the prospects would work, but I wanted the Giants to chase Melanson because it's like, okay, we had a first run with Melanson. He wasn't great. He was really good last year. He's not great this year, but maybe he could pick it up. But it was mostly so that we could save Duvall a little bit. I wanted to see Duvall out of the 8th inning, turn it over, and then let's see if we can do something there. But man, if he can throw that pitch, he could be phenomenal in the upcoming years.
Well, it's a little frightening because last year we virtually had 3 guys that you can count on in the 9th inning. Tyler Rogers was that 3rd guy, but you had Jake McGee and you had Duvall towards the end of the season. But if you really needed Tyler Rogers in a situation to come in the 9th inning, he could do it if you had to give the other guys rest. This year, there's none of that. This year, right now, it's Duvall. And there's nobody else that could pick up the 9th because Tyler Rogers, whether it's bad luck, whether it's guys have kind of figured out his rising pitches, I would not feel good having him coming in the 9th inning. Yesterday when Duvall came in after 3 straight, that was his 3rd straight relief appearance, and he came in a tie ball game. I gave up the run, but it was not an earned run. It was on an error. I was nervous. I told you that over text. I said, he's coming in for the 3rd straight day.
Yeah.
This makes me very, very nervous. But there's nobody else. There's nobody else in this situation right now. That bullpen is just, they've got a lot of ground to make up in the wild card race. And with this bullpen, man, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that, so I was going to save this for when we talked about bullpen, but I'll lead it into our bullpen discussion. We'll talk about what we're drinking here right now as well. But I think the one thing, like if you can, I don't know if we're here in the blame game with Zadie. I know he's getting a lot of it from some of the fan base, but I think the one thing that you could actually give him some constructive criticism or maybe even, non-constructive criticism is that the bullpen, we knew the defense is harder to fix. Like they just have old players, but they need those guys because of their bats. The bullpen, if you just added one dependable arm, and we saw guys go, right? Hader got traded. Now they weren't going to trade for him. Like he was, that was a lot of prospects. Trevor Rogers got traded back in that deal. There were other pitchers who were traded, but if they could have added one more arm, I would have thought that, okay, at least he sees that, this bullpen is so overworked. And so much to the point that Brebbia, who was kind of a little bit of like a twinkling of our eye and unexpected, right? Because you expect Brebbia to be sort of a consistent arm, maybe not necessarily a gem, but he'd been one of the gems of the bullpen, and now you can just sense I think he leads all of baseball in appearances, and now he's leaking a little bit. But outside of Duvall, Brebbia, there may be another guy who's okay, but they're a leaky pen, and they needed to add that one guy. And I think if you are going to criticize Farhan, he cannot fix the defense in one trade deadline. The offense is, for whatever reason, just unclutched this year. They got guys sitting on bases ready to be scored, and it doesn't happen. But the starting pitching has been great. But dang, the bullpen seemed to be a little bit fixable at the trade deadline, and they didn't do it. So that's how we're going to lead into this conversation. But before that, let's talk about what we are drinking. And I've been going first a lot, so I'll let you go first.
Right. Yeah, so I've got I forgot to bring in the bourbon with me, but I like to get the Trader Joe's bourbon that they have there. I think it's like $18 or something like that, and it's good. It's a good mixer. It's not one you want to drink straight usually, but I like to pop that in with the ginger ale Zevia.
There we go.
And so a nice big tall. We'll call that a highball, right? I don't.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah, we'll call that a highball. So that's my ginger ale Trader Joe's bourbon highball. It's not fancy.
I like it.
If you just want to drink and you want to get there, that's the drink.
So I was telling you that I had some tequila, and I drink the Terramana. You've had some Terramana before. Yeah. You add a little bit of grapefruit soda to it.
Yeah, I like that one.
So what I usually do is I just drink it with a big ice cube, but I chill it. So chilling it means just putting it in the freezer, and it doesn't freeze, but it gets a little thick, I would say, like a little bit of a gel rather than the liquid that it is. And so I looked this up. Is freezing tequila like the right thing to do? And hardcore tequila drinkers are like, no, why would you ever do that? But then friends who drink it say, oh yeah, I really like it that way. I really like it because it's automatically cold. Then you put it over the ice cube and it's just chilled.
Yeah. And
so then I was like, how should I do this? Should I drink it chilled? Should I drink it just regular, but over ice? And so then I was like, how does Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson drink it?
And that's the only question you need to ask, really. Quit asking your friends stuff. Just ask that question.
And so I watch him, and he drinks it chilled because every time he pops the thing, you could see the bottle has a little bit of like icing on it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna drink it that way. If The Rock drinks it that way, and it is his tequila brand, then I will drink it that way. So Crystal went to Total Wine, and she got the Añejo brand of Terramana, or the Añejo style of Terramana tequila. If I go to Safeway, they only have the silver or the gold, but for whatever reason, they don't have the Añejo. So we go to Total Wine. She had a coupon that was like $10 off. Because for whatever reason, this one is like about $15 more expensive than the other brand, the other versions of Terramana. So, and it's my favorite one, of course, the most expensive one. So that's what I'm drinking is the Terramana Añejo chilled.
Yeah, I think the añejos are more expensive because they're aged longer. I think there's a different process to them. And those are the ones like the silvers are all the mixers.
Yeah.
And the añejos are more like, oh, you're just going to drink that over, on the rocks. And,
Yeah.
But of course, when we were in college, that's not what it was there for. It was there to do shots.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a tequila tasting?
I have not, but I would really like to. I think that'd be fun. Our Total Wine here used to have this big room in the back, and my dad and I went to a couple of like beer lectures just for fun. We went to one that was all German beers, and then we had tasters afterwards, and we had a good time with that. Yeah, and then we were going to go to a bourbon one, and then COVID hit, and now they shut down the room, so they don't even they closed off the room. They don't even have it for anything anymore.
Yeah, I went to a tequila tasting once. It was really fun, but nice. At old next door holiday parties, one of the gimmicks was tequila shots at the party.
Yes.
And so we would do those. But tequila is an interesting liquor to shoot. So I like the taste of it. So I'd rather sit with it rather than shoot it. But yeah. So
we used to take the Cuervo in a shot glass, the tall shot glasses, tall thin ones. So you'd pour that in there halfway, and the rest you'd fill with Sprite, and you would just smack it on the table like a tequila popper and then drink it like that. And it actually tasted pretty good, but don't do that, kids.
That is definitely a way that I see people drink tequilas with Sprite.
Yes. Yeah.
So just as an aside, and we'll move on right now, but so I'm going to interview, I think it's not 100% sure. It's possibly going to happen on Friday, but somebody who actually works for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
He works for his production company, $7 Production. He's a writer for The Rock. So he wrote a book. Awesome. So I'm probably going to be interviewing him sometime this week. But the book comes out tonight, so I got to read through a lot of it so that I have some questions. Yeah.
Another fun one to interview, and I had Men's Health magazine back in the day, was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's stunt double.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the dude who looks just like him, and he lives in Hawaii, and he has his home gym in Hawaii, in a shack.
Yeah.
And then when he finds out, Rock calls him and says, "Hey, I got this movie. It's coming up. We're shooting in about 8 months." He goes, "All right, here we go. I'm getting into shape."
Yeah.
That'd be cool to talk to that guy. He's probably got some interesting stories.
Oh yeah. That'd be crazy. All right, let's move on here. We teased talking about the bullpen. So I wanted to turn it over to you because, a source of frustration with fans, I think, is last year we were a little bit maybe spoiled with how good the bullpen was. And this year, I wouldn't say it's quite the opposite, but this is kind of how it works. And what I'm going to go back to, and because we're going to talk about the 2012 reunion right after this, but Dave Fleming mentioned that the core four of the Giants bullpen from back in the day, that doesn't necessarily happen. You have relievers who kind of, have a good year or a bad year, but they don't really stay with teams very long, especially multiple relievers. And so last year we had this great bullpen. They really, really helped the Giants win those 107 games. And this year, I think the bullpen's been pretty disappointing. Poor Tyler Rogers is a little bit of the face of that bullpen being disappointing because of the disappointing year that he's had. And, Grant Brisbee wrote a pretty good piece about what his numbers look like compared to last year. And some of his numbers are actually better this year than they were last year. But, for whatever reason, I think people are less worried about his arm angle this year than they were last year. But, for whatever reason, he's a completely different pitcher, and some of it is bad luck, some of it isn't. But you were going to do a little bit of a dive into the bullpen, so I kind of want to turn it over to you now.
Yeah, sure. So now we're just going to kind of concentrate a little bit on the last week of the bullpen because we know, I mean, this bullpen has been rough off and on, but it's never the same guy. So that's kind of a point of frustration. Last week, when you look at the bullpen, so we had 6 games. Giants went 4-2 in that stretch. And during that stretch, the bullpen pitched in 18 2/3 innings in 6 games. That's a lot of innings. So, like you had said at one point too during the week when we were texting back and forth, you said this bullpen is gassed.
Yeah,
this is a
big time.
This is a burned out bullpen because you've got Rodon who can go 7, sometimes 8, but he's only been going 5 or 6 lately. And then you've got Webb who can go 8, but sometimes he goes 5. And then you got everybody else. Then you got Wood. Then you've got Cobb, and then you've got Junis at the moment.
Yeah.
Those are like, 4 or 5 inning guys. So you're having your bullpen eat up a lot of innings. So in the 6th game, the Giants bullpen went 18 2/3 innings. They gave up 26 hits, 16 runs, 5 home runs. They did strike out 20 batters in 18 2/3, which is really, when you look at it deep in some of the more successful bullpens, that's not a lot of strikeouts. They still are putting the ball in play. They're still a ground ball bullpen, but as we know with the Giants defense, that can run you into some issues as well. They also walked 6 batters in 18 2/3 innings, which is actually pretty good. That's not a bad clip. That's, 3 walked batters per 9, just about. Leads given up on the week. Tyler Rogers gave up the 9th inning lead on Tuesday against the Padres. Junior Marte came into a beautiful lead in Wednesday's game against the Padres, gave up that lead in the 6th inning. Brebbia in the 7th inning yesterday against the Pirates gave up that lead. The Giants ended up fighting back. The Pirates said, "You like this game? You want this game? Here it is." And they gave it back to us. Not taking anything away from Tyro Estrada, but I don't even think we would have been in that situation without some misplayed fly balls. But it's safe to say the Giants need some sort of help, some sort of shot in the arm. Because like we just talked about, Melanson would have been a nice pickup, not even to close out ball games, but to be a 7th or 8th inning guy, 7th or 8th inning veteran, to be there to help out Duvall in case he ever needed that. We forget about Zach Littell. He's on a rehab assignment right now back in Sacramento. I was just checking out his numbers today. He's pitched 8 1/3 innings so far, given up 6 hits, 4 runs, 2 home runs, 2 walks, but struck out 9 batters. His whip is .96. So we should be seeing him fairly soon. That should help the Giants out a little bit because, as we know, Zach Littell was pretty on fire at the beginning of the season. He was pitching really well. This will help Brebbia because, I mean, they're basically the same guy, but if you can split them into 2 and take some of that weight off of Brebbia's shoulders, that's really nice. Looking at the week, though, Thomas Zapucki, the left-hander that the Giants got in one of their deadline deals, a third of an inning. He faced 3 batters, gave up 2 hits, a blast home run.
Nice bomb there.
Yeah, the Giants still won that game, but these are the type of guys that the Giants are plugging in right now. Junior Marte was sent back down yesterday, and then Brebbia again pitched in 3 games this week. Duvall pitched in 4 games this week. Harleen Garcia pitched in 3 games this week. Alex Young had pitched in 2 games this week. Tyler Rogers 2. It's really a very, very gassed bullpen.
Yep.
When September 1st rolls around, that'll be nice when you can expand the rosters. And again, I can't remember if they changed that rule this year. Did they change that rule where
not as many guys can come up, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be at you can't have the 40 like you used to have in the past. I don't think anybody ever brought up 40 because you're not giving anybody enough reps at that point.
Right.
But if the Giants can get some of their AAA arms healthy, Santos is on the 40-man roster. he's not a guy that's going to help out a whole lot right now because he just walks batters after batter. And I was trying to look at some of the other things. Streifler, who the Giants also got in a a bullpen piece at the trade deadline. He's pitched in 5 innings. He's walked 5 in Sacramento. Jose Alvarez, he's going to be making a rehab assignment hopefully here soon.
Kervin Castro got picked up after they DFA'd him.
Yeah, Kervin Castro. Randy Rodriguez is in AAA. He's on the 40-man roster, but in 2 1/3 innings there, he's walked 4, given up 2 hits, 4 runs, and only struck out 1. So his ERA is sitting at a nice and pretty 15.43. So really, when you look at it, like you said, I think the Giants needed to make just a single bullpen move. A Tony Watson type of guy.
Yeah.
Somebody on a team like Melanson, who's on a team who's going nowhere, but has that experience. Will Smith, get Will Smith back. He ended up getting traded from Atlanta. I think he went, I want to say, to the Angels because the Angels got Raciel Iglesias. Raciel Iglesias, another guy the Giants could have gotten. They could have eaten his contract, no problem. They could have taken on his entire contract.
Totally.
He just got a new 4-year deal. They could have taken the entire contract and basically given up, a player to be named later at that point. And the Angels might have been just happy to get rid of the contract. So yeah, I mean, going forward, the Giants really have to make up a lot of games at this point. They're 6.5 games back of a wild card spot, or 6 games back starting tonight. And if they get into the 5th inning and the starter has to be pulled, there's not a lot of confidence in Giants fans right now with this bullpen.
And you know who they face tonight?
Mad Bum.
They
got the Mad Bum. So
that'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be nice. And looking at the schedule again, too, we talked about Arizona and Colorado. I don't know why I'm losing my voice, but I'm going to have some water. It's very dry here. It gets very dry in Reno. So
what was the temperature today?
97 again. I mean, it's like 97 every day with a nice humidity of 7%. It's very dry.
So more to your point. So
yeah.
D-backs are here for 4. They play all the way through Thursday. And I saw the Giants play the Diamondbacks in Arizona, and the Giants didn't win any of those games, which was frustrating, but maybe they pay them back here. And then they go to Colorado. They got 3 against Colorado. Next week, they got 2 in Detroit. It's always fun to kind of see the American League ballparks that we don't see all the time. So it'll be fun watching those games on TV. And then the Twins over the weekend. So, and then back home for the Padres. So, they do have some games that they can win. Like you said earlier, if they can win, 70-80% of them, maybe they do get back in the race. But if they don't, every time they don't, they just fall so far back with less games to play. And as we know, September, and then, there's only like 5 games in October. So really, you have a month and a half left in the baseball season. So they need to stay within striking distance, and striking distance is really not where they are right now. It's more like 3 or 4 games back rather than the 6 that they are.
Well, and like I said last week, so after that San Diego series, the Giants have 12 games against Pittsburgh, Arizona, Colorado, Detroit. So I was saying it would be nice to see them go 10-2 in those 12 games. And they started out 3-0. So now we're down to just going 7-2 in the next 9 games against these teams. And so if the Giants can give a little throwback this week, taking a look at what they did against the Diamondbacks last year, they were 17-2 against Arizona. This year, they're 3-6 against Arizona with a -7 run differential. Against the Rockies last year, I'm still trying to figure this one out. So hopefully these next 4 games against Arizona fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year against the Rockies, 15-4. And this year they're 6-3 against the Rockies. So a little bit better. They fare better this year against the Rockies than the Diamondbacks. And this year they have a plus 15 run differential against Colorado. So these are the teams you get right against.
Yeah.
And again, they're healthier. So you've got 7 straight games, 4 again at home. Then you go to Colorado for 3. Then you get an off day on Monday, 2 games in Detroit, and an off day on Thursday before you go to Minnesota. So they got a couple of days off. We're talking about a tired bullpen. So hopefully they can get the starters to go a little bit deeper in the next couple of games, get some reinforcements from AAA, get Zach Littell back up here. And then at that point, you got a couple of days off, and then they're in Minnesota and home for San Diego. So, there's a lot of promise going forward. I think we'll know a lot more by the end of August. We only have a couple of weeks left in August, but I think we'll know a lot more once September 1st hits. What this team is going to look like. If we see a lot more Elliot Ramos in the outfield September 1st, we know kind of how things went at that point. So
Andrew Baggerly tweeted earlier today. He said, if by some miracle the Giants have a run left in them, then the Dodgers could do them a few favors. Now Walker Buehler's out for the year, unfortunately for the Dodgers. LA has 7 games with the Brewers and 9 remaining against the Padres, 3 versus St. Louis, 2. So those are all the teams that the Giants will need to face. And right now the Dodgers are like just a ridiculous baseball team. They're almost playing 700 baseball. They have 79 wins. They are 4 wins ahead of Houston, 7 wins ahead of the Yankees. And the Yankees get so much play by the national media. You'd think the Yankees were the best team in New York. No, the Mets have 75 wins versus the Yankees 72 wins. But the Dodgers clearly the best team in baseball right now, 79 and 34. They finally lost the other day, but they were on like a 12-game winning streak or something crazy.
Yeah. So what are they on? What are the Dodgers on pace for? Some ridiculous, like 115, 116 wins or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's near the end of the season. They're going to be so far ahead. Like they're 16 games ahead of San Diego. And, I guess the reason for them to continue playing is to make sure that they are ahead of the Mets. But, they're 4 games ahead of the Mets right now. So maybe the Mets push them to keep playing really good baseball. But, otherwise, they can probably kind of chill for the last couple weeks of the season and not really press too hard and still have a really, really good record.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Last 2 segments of this show. Quickly, Saturday early evening, the 2012 World Series team was celebrated at the ballpark. That team is very near and dear to my heart. Every Giants fan's heart, but the reason is because I was at game 1 of the World Series and I got to see Pablo go deep 3 times, and Zito, it was Zito against Verlander. Like, who would have thought the Giants win that baseball game? And Zito had just come off of the really good start in St. Louis, where he starts the 3-1 game. They're down 3-1. Must win. He wins that. We get the whole rally Zito thing going on Twitter. And you ask people on Twitter, we helped a little bit. Like with the rally Zito and the graphics, like just the good juju.
And the rally enchiladas.
Rally enchiladas was a vocal song. Yeah. All that stuff is so memorable to me. But so it was fun to see them celebrated. Now, the sad part is, you and I had been talking about Lincecum. Where's Lincecum been? They do these things for Posey. Lincecum wasn't there for Posey. And word came out that Lincecum's wife, Kristen Coleman, passed away from cancer. And I think that really I don't remember seeing her very often. Like Tim is not a public guy. He's a very private guy. I don't remember seeing her very often, if at all. And that thing hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I was like, wow, I feel so bad for Tim and her family and his family. And it makes all the sense in the world why he's kind of not been in the public eye for a lot of this stuff, but I was really sad to see that. And, first the Giants Twitter, this shows you kind of how private Tim is. Giants Twitter originally published that tweet saying that it was his longtime girlfriend. So what I imagine is they didn't even realize that she and Tim were married. So yeah, just again, he's a very private guy, but oh man, that one hit me. I was so sad.
Yeah, that was pretty rough to hear. And like you said too, I mean, when they said longtime girlfriend, I thought I remember seeing the her at one of the World Series celebrations and whatnot on one of the floats or something like that. But it was so long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, he was so private. Nobody even knew that he was married or that, who knows? I mean, they might even have kids. I'm not really sure. But yeah, that was very sad. And anytime you hear something like that in the Giants family, you kind of pause for a moment. Watching the celebration the other night when they did pause before they did the national anthem, I actually stopped. I mean, I was doing dishes, towel over my shoulder, and I just stopped because you feel it in your heart, in your soul. We've lived and loved this team and these players since we can remember being kids. So it's kind of like whether it be a distant family member or a family member, when something like that happens, you really just kind of feel it.
Yeah, Timmy is unconditionally loved by this fan base. So, whatever has to happen, if we see him in the near future, he will be the most celebrated person, when he does get to the park. But completely understandable why he hasn't been around, and just wishing the best for him and his family and her family.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, 2012 reunion. Who was your favorite speaker who was out there, in front of the crowd? And I thought Dave Fleming did a tremendous job. It was interesting. I don't often hear that from him, though, with the, I guess you would say, bad umpiring strike zones. You hear from him a little bit more, especially with the JD Davis one from the Padres game where they came back against Hader and he got called for that strike three. That ball was like a foot outside.
Yeah.
Lots of we from Fleming, right? Like, he's the broadcaster. Yes. I know he works for the Giants, but lots of like we. I was like, wow, I haven't heard that from him before. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I thought he did a great job sort of being the MC of that whole thing, asking tons of questions. It was great to see all those guys. But yeah, who was your favorite speaker that you saw out there on Saturday?
I enjoyed Affelt. I think everybody always enjoys Affelt. I think he's always fun, poking fun at guys and turning around and, saying things to other people, talking about his crazy injuries.
Yeah.
That was always, and Zito. I mean, Zito is kind of the guy you feel like now you could probably just go over, grab the ukulele. I'll head over to Zito's house and I'll bring along some gummies with me and we'll hang out and me and Zito will jam. And he sounded like that too on during the broadcast. You're sitting there going, oh, he's pretty chill,
loose. He's pretty loose. Yeah.
Fun guy. But you didn't see that with the Giants. You always saw very tight.
Yeah.
Very contract heavy on the head.
Yeah. That contract, he carried that thing on his shoulders.
Oh, for sure. So to see him loose, having fun, being super chill, I really, really enjoyed that. I think Zito was definitely my favorite.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you and Zeke hang out, I'll go. I'll have a quarter of a gummy.
Yeah, man. We'll have a good time. We'll jam, man.
It was a blast. I'm trying to think of who was my favorite. What I liked is, Marco Scudero was trying to make jokes, and I don't think like everybody really caught on to the jokes, because even when Vogelsong was there, he made an enchiladas joke, but
yeah,
like they kind of just ran through it. Like, and so, I was feeling for Marco, because, Marco's really, when you talk about that NLCS against St. Louis, like, he's the guy for that series. And they make that trade late in the season where they add on just a guy who fit. Like, imagine if the Giants traded for someone like Marco Scudero right now, like he would solve so many problems for them, for this current team. But yeah, so I liked seeing him. But I would say Santiago Castillo was my favorite one because, he was having a blast. He was like, hey, I can go 3 right now. Like, I'm like, get a uniform on this guy. He can probably still throw 95. Like,
well, we could use him and Romo right now, can't we?
Oh yeah,
and Romo's still pitching.
Look, Romo can throw the frisbee slider, and he could like. I'm sure he could do whatever Tyler Rogers is doing right now, right? Like,
absolutely.
So, they would. Yeah, you probably can't have both on the same team, but I'm in it. But that 2012 team, I think Bochy said it was. I don't remember the exact wording, but it made me feel like he thought that was the best team out of the World Series teams.
Yeah, and that was that was the team that clinched very early, right? From what I remember.
I think they won like 95 games.
Yeah, earlier than the 2010 team because that was on the last day of the season. 2014 was a wild card
with the
team.
wild card. Yeah.
So 2012, I think it was that early clincher, and I think I remember that too. That was a couple of weeks into September, and they clinched. And I was out at a concert, and I saw the clinch, and I was like, "All right, man, this is what do we do the next 2 weeks now? Pretty easy riding, waiting to get to the playoffs." And then the playoffs hit, and I thought, "Oh, this team, there's a letdown."
Yeah.
They haven't had to play for anything for a couple of weeks, and now they're just kind of vibed out. And so that was definitely a fun team. I've got, I got all the good stuff right here. I'm just thinking I'm probably gonna have to watch the 2012 one again this weekend, just to watch that again. I think that's the one that's actually narrated by
is it Tom Hanks' son?
No. Colin Hanks, I think, was 2014.
Oh, okay.
2012 was, I'll have to find it. I'm not wearing glasses, Garrett. I don't know.
Well, you'll have to tell us next week.
Yeah, the first one, 2010, was narrated by Rob Schneider of Saturday Night Live fame.
Yes.
So that's a fun one to watch just because of him. His name's on the tip of my tongue too, darn it. Anyways, so I have to go back and watch that because reliving and refeeling those first 2 playoff series against the Reds and Cardinals, extremely painful because, oh God, I remember just sitting at work and I had this little junky TV and I was like, I got to try to find the game. So I put it on coax cable. We had cable run into all of our building at the time. So I popped a cable into it and I'm watching fuzzy old, horrible 18 times split cable through this building and watching that game. So that would have been because they were down 2-1 because it was a best 3 out of 5 against Cincinnati. So they're down 2-1. So it was game 4. I was watching it in the building. And then I remember the Buster Posey grand slam.
Oh, yeah.
One of the kids was sick. They were in the bathtub. And so I was sitting next to the bathtub watching it on another crappy TV. Oh, just all the good.
And now we can pull all this stuff up on our phones.
Yeah. And now it's totally different. 10 years later, here we are, and we can watch it on the screens. Any of the 50 screens that we own.
I know. It's so crazy. All right. So we're going to end it here, but I wanted to quickly get your thoughts. Now, this is on a little bit of a sour note, but the reason why I bring it up is because we mentioned Fernando Tatis at the beginning here.
Yeah.
We lived through Balco and Barry Bonds, right? And we've had to sort of sit with that and kind of analyze our own thoughts in how we feel. And still yet, Barry Bonds is still very beloved Giants. 2 Giants fans. You ask Dodgers fans and they think he's like the Antichrist. But so we lived this whole PEDs thing. And so now it comes up again with Fernando Tatis Jr. I have I wouldn't say a deep knowledge of PEDs, but because of the other things that I cover, I kind of have to know a little bit about what this stuff does. What was your initial reaction to Tatis testing positive and then being out the 80 games for the whatever it is that he tested for, which is essentially an anabolic steroid?
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought, oh wow. But my first thought was, where was he during his rehab, where he was able to do this stuff, where there wasn't a Padres official with him to say, hey, let's make sure whatever it is that you're taking during your rehab is legit.
Right.
Because you got to figure nowadays, 2022, there's got to be people that you would think would approve. I mean, we're only talking about 40 players. We're talking about a 40-man roster. We're only talking about a couple of people that need to monitor what goes into the bodies of these 40 players.
Yeah.
You want to go out and eat 8 pizzas, go for it. But when you're taking supplements and you're taking different medication, there's got to be people that watch that stuff,
Yeah.
that approve that stuff, that know what you can and can't take. So this was obviously done on the down low. Was he at a Padres facility? Was he under the watchful eye of Padres officials? Probably not. Was he not even in this country while he was rehabbing? Who knows? But when I initially saw that, I thought, oh, I can't wait to see the excuse, because you can go one of two ways. You can say, what I did was wrong. I'm sorry. Sorry to the Padres fans. Sorry to the Padres organization. Or you can say, I didn't know that was in there. I was told to take this by a team doctor. I didn't know that this was in there. And that's kind of the route he went. I had ringworm. I took this medication. So everybody went, no, that's not. And then I looked it up too. And the first thing that it says about this drug that he took is that there is no U.S. approved medical treatment in anything that it's used in. So there's nothing that the FDA has said, this is a medical treatment, use this medicine for it.
Right.
There are other alternatives that you can use for ringworm. There's antifungal medication that you can take that doesn't have any of the steroid in it. So for him to say, well, I had ringworm. No, I mean, that doesn't cut it. But of course, you saw my initial reaction as I texted you and Hot Take Bry. I said, this guy is a fool. He's so young and he's such a fool. He's just shooting himself in the foot over and over again. It's unbelievable.
Well, when he signed that long-term contract with the Padres, the GM was like, you don't see too many 13-year contracts, but this guy's so mature for his age.
And then mature.
And then he gets hurt off season and he hurts his wrist. And we've seen that before. We've seen that from Jeff Kent, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the Kent? I was washing my
truck. Oh, yeah.
And Mad Bum got hurt as well.
Never been the same since that.
We sniffed that one out pretty quickly. But this one came and I was like, he needs and Machado. Remember Machado last year at the end of the season, right? He was like yelling at this dude in the dugout. So I still think Fernando Tatis is a fantastic talent. I think he's going to be a great player. He's had a couple of things that he needs to sort of figure out. And that is let's take care of home. Like, let's figure out why we're doing this stuff, why we feel that we need to do this stuff. And let's just take care of business because we are a baseball player. I think he'll figure that stuff out, though. I don't know. His pops was like sticking up for him, I guess, a little bit. As fathers do, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But he needs a mentor, right? He needs a mentor to go, hey, this is how you be a professional, because I think he's got the most talent out of, who has more talent than him. He's one of the upper echelon when it comes to that. So the thing that I took away from that was, my guess is the wrist injury, there was a little bit of pressure for him to get back, and thus let's take something to help, quicken the time frame for me to come back, and that'll help me get back sooner. That's my guess. I don't imagine he's like this guy who takes this stuff to, like sort of like how McGuire and Bonds and Sosa took it from back in the day. Like, those guys were just giant human beings. Tatis is not. I don't consider him a giant human. Like, he's he's still sort of long and thin and athletic. So I don't think he needs that to do what he does. But if he does, man, that would be quite the thing, because he led baseball in home runs last year, right? Like he was the league leader in home runs, or National League at least.
I don't remember exactly. But so like you said too, though, you do have experience with reading up on these things and studying these things. So an anabolic steroid, is that to make you bigger or to help you heal faster?
I mean, it could be a couple of different things. It depends on sort of the usage, right? If he has been taking this thing for a long time, then he's trying to gain strength from it.
Mhm.
But if he took it to quicken the healing of this injury, which is my guess, though I don't know anything, right? Someone is going to figure out the story. All this stuff
Right.
comes out eventually. But my thought immediately was, oh, he was probably hurt and wanted to hurry up there was some pressure for him to get back. He wants to get back. This is a pennant race. The playoffs are coming. He hasn't played all season long, so there's some pressure there. That was my initial thought, was he wants to get back sooner than later. But yeah, steroids can help that process, but it also, if you're taking it for long term, it is for strength, and you're sort of being able to work out beyond what you normally can work out with when it comes to weights and stuff. So
Now timing wise, do you wonder if the Padres, before the trade deadline, if they kind of knew this was coming down, it was being investigated, they were alerted to the fact that we're looking into this, be prepared, there may be a suspension for Tatis. If they then upped their offer to Juan Soto and said, we need to get Juan Soto now because this is our situation.
yeah, that's interesting, because I saw the Padres GM, AJ Preller. Someone asked him about that, and he said, I literally found out the day that the news came out. And so supposedly he and Melvin had this conference, and I guess it was the team sort of knew something was going on, and they had this little conference before, and it was like, oh, I wonder what's going on, and then that's what it was. So if you were to believe Preller, they had no idea until it happened. But I guess Tatis would have known a little bit before then. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Again, someone will break that down and sort of put it together, and we'll figure out exactly what happened. But unfortunate for Tatis, because I'm not a Padres fan, but I'm a fan of young players, and I'm a fan of great players, and you want to see these guys reach their peaks, and hopefully not against us, but he's a really excellent young player. He may eventually be an outfielder or maybe even a DH, but man, the guy can hit the baseball a long way.
Oh yeah. They're absolutely going to miss him this year, and he's going to miss 30 something games at the beginning of the next year. Automatically disqualified for the playoffs this year. I'm not sure if he's disqualified for the playoffs next year because he's missing games due to a suspension from steroids, but I think it's only a one season thing when it comes to the postseason. But yeah, who knows?
All right. We are crossing our fingers that the Giants play some good baseball this week.
Yes.
Maybe when we come back next week, hopefully they are still have that little percentage, whatever that percentage is, that they have of a chance, because it's much more fun doing this when they are in when they're competitive. So, we'll be back next week. So for Brad, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.